You know what, Sam?
What?
Things seem a little dreary right now.
Yes, they do. Yeah, things are very, very dreary. And what are
So
you
I got a
holding?
drink. I got a drink. I got an old Hurricanes cup here. It's a collector's. It's old. It's not in good condition, but it's got Elias Lindholm on the front. So it tells you how old this cup is. But I made myself a rum and coke to talk about this team because this team, as Steve Dangle likes to say, is ruining my life. This team is ruining my life, Sam.
But can you write a book about it, though, is the question.
Oh, absolutely not. I'm not that talented.
Because Steve Dangle was able to compile his thoughts into a book.
Yeah, I know. Tells you how bad the Toronto Maple Leafs are.
Apparently.
Hey, you know what? I will
But
unashamedly plug Steve Dangle's LFR podcast. You should go watch the episode WAF one because that's a hoot and a half. And for the record, I love Steve Dangle and love everything he puts out, whether the Leafs win or not. Like, I'm not a Leafs fan, but I love his product. So he doesn't pay us to good podcast.
yeah, definitely. Shout out to Steve Dangle there. But as usual, Sam, we have a great partnership with who?
SeatGeek. So
Yep.
I will be attending the game in Minnesota, so it'll be my second road trip. So I might use SeatGeek to go to the game. Right? Get $20 off your first purchase. That's a great thing to do. If you want to go to the Hurricanes games, right? We play Vegas tonight. You can use SeatGeek, see if there's any tickets left to swap up a good Friday night action against the best team in the National Hockey League currently, former Stanley Cup champions. And if you want to go see a comedy show at PNC Arena or a concert or anything, it doesn't have to be, or I'm sorry, Lenovo Center, but it doesn't have to be here. It can be anywhere at all. So take advantage. Promo code Keeniac Report, $20 off your first purchase, whether you are in California or New York or Minnesota or North Carolina or Florida. If you want to go to an event, use our promo code and take advantage of it because why would you leave money sitting on the table, Sam? $20, that's like a dinner.
It is. It's a very good deal. I'd do it more than once if I could.
Mm-hmm.
So really would. You don't know what you're missing out, guys. You really don't. Uh,
Exactly.
but another thing too, remember if you are watching us on YouTube, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and hit that notification bell so that you will never miss a future episode. And if you're listening to us on the traditional podcast side of things, like Apple or Spotify, be sure to leave a rating and a review,
Yep.
and also subscribe. So
And
that
if you're watching
stuff
on
really helps
YouTube,
us out.
cover up Sam Wallace.
No, do not cover up Sam Wallace. Cover up Sam Driscoll. Then you'll see a big difference in the quality of this episode because it goes up.
It goes up, really? I thought it was the other way. I thought if you covered Sam
No,
Wallace.
Why do you think I said goes up? Because that will left you saying, yeah, it goes down. But no, it does not.
I don't know. I don't know. If you want the quality to really go up, Sam, we got to get your dad on the podcast.
Oh my gosh, you love it when my dad's on.
Yes.
And another thing too, a little bit special for this episode. So this episode might be a tad bit longer than our usual episodes, and the reason why is because at the end of this episode, you'll see a collaboration with us and the Storm Surge for the first time. Hope you guys enjoyed that. I believe they've already posted their episode, but you can also see it on YouTube and hear it as well if you're not watching us on YouTube but listening to us. And it was a very good conversation with that we had, Sam, with those guys.
Yeah, it was really good. And the benefit today is where our episode might be a little longer. Sam and I personally won't have as much to talk about because we just have one game, I believe. And
Yeah, just one game.
I don't think Sam and I are overly, like energetic to talk about that game. So,
But I was energetic to talk about the Hurricanes after that game, though.
Oh yeah, I mean to be fair, I think everybody was. And really, I mean, at the end of the day, we'll talk about it. I think
We'll talk about it.
so.
Yeah.
I feel like we'll probably won't talk as much about the game as much as what the game symbolized. uh, of a reality that this team is in. But yeah, so cover up Sam Wallace. That was the point of what I was trying
No,
to make.
no, don't cover up Sam Moss. Cover up Sam Driscoll. And Sam, remember our ticket giveaway opportunity,
Yes,
and that is, and if I don't
maybe.
know if we set a date for, well, we have set a date
Yeah. Yep,
for it,
it's the last
but
game of the month, the last home game of the month. Against the Chicago
Chicago.
Blackhawks. Your chance to see Connor Bedard. This is different. This is a different giveaway. This is a go to a Hurricanes game with a member of the Caniac Report. So it'll be Sam Wallace or myself. You will get one ticket and one parking pass. This is your chance, if you're a listener, to watch,
Look at
to hang
me.
out with us.
Don't you want to hang out with this?
That's it. I think you're scaring people. Um, uh,
I
I
was
think
making funny faces.
so. Basically, you guys get to decide which of us it is. So we want to ratchet that number up for people who have already participated in this. So vote. Who do you want to go with? You want to go with Sam Wallace or do you want to go with myself? You get one ticket, one parking pass. Must be 18 or older to enter in this contest. And then once we have decided whether it's Sam Wallace or myself, then we will start how to actually enter in to get the ticket and the parking pass. So don't worry, you're still going to the game completely on us. You get your ticket, you get a parking pass, and it's going to be a heck of a game against Chicago. You get to see Connor Bedard and the return of Teuvo Teravainen to Lenovo Center.
Yeah, and listen, for those who are going to be voting, I just want to say I respect your opinion no matter who you choose. But at the same time, the right choice, I think, is Sam Wallace.
Look, and you know what? You don't have to go be. You don't have to
I'm just kidding.
go. You don't have to go to the game to vote. Maybe you want to. Maybe you don't like Sam Wallace or myself, and you want to vote and punish somebody else. I don't know. But make sure you vote
That's
between Sam.
interesting. That's really
Yeah. Hey,
interesting.
look, I'm just saying, if you don't want to go, you don't. I mean, you can still vote on who of us you want. But how you vote is simple. All you do is message Sam or you message our Instagram, our X, email, whatever you want to do. Just tell us which one of us you want to go to a Hurricanes game with. Again, must be 18 or older to participate in this, since we will also be attending. And then we'll do a random drawing and you get to hang out with us for a night. We'll hang out, chat about the Hurricanes, or one of us for a night, chat about the hockey team, and hang out, watch the Hurricanes play Connor Bedard and the Chicago Blackhawks. Couldn't be asked for a more enjoyable night.
Exactly. Couldn't have said it better myself.
And I know none of you want to go with Sam Wallace, so that's fine.
Okay, you know what, Sam? You're something this episode already, and we're not even 10 minutes into it. Okay,
it's because I got the liquid courage, Sam. I got the liquid courage.
Yeah,
right
I can
here.
tell. I can tell. You better use that liquid courage wisely. Remember, we're recording. And then that's pretty much it, actually, for just podcast side of things. But now we're talking about things going on league wide. And Sam, one thing that really made news, even though probably not a surprise at the same time with how he's been playing with Pittsburgh, Tristan Jarry has been put on waivers. That's a contract that teams did not want to have, and he eventually did get sent down to the AHL. No one picked him up.
So I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think Tristan Jarry is the problem in Pittsburgh. I think he's a good goalie. I looked at his numbers today. He's been a solid goalie for Pittsburgh on some really bad teams. And when you're a taxed goalie on a team that just doesn't play defensive hockey, because, I mean, heck, your top defensive pair is Chris Letang and Erik Karlsson. There is no defense there by any stretch of the imagination, like none whatsoever. In Pittsburgh, the reality is there. I get sending him down because you probably feel he could do better. But at the same time, I don't know if it's fair to put all of it on Tristan Jarry. So,
but you could see it as a sign of Dubas trying to light a fire under this team.
Yeah, because you sent down your goalie, and
Yeah.
he's not an old goaltender. If someone picked them up, I would have been. I think it's justified. One, I don't think his contract hit is too bad. I think the problem people have is it's over 5 million and it's 3 years, so it's the term
Yep,
plus the
it's
hit.
the term.
It's the term plus the hit. But I'll also be honest with you, I still think Carolina should have claimed him because I think he's
Mm,
young.
mm.
He's got 3 years, so it does a couple things. One, you have to give up nothing to have a goalie play next season, right? So the cap hit's not crazy for a starting goalie. It's less than Gibson, by the way. Tristan Jarry has shown in the past he is a solid goaltender. He's an NHL goalie, which is what we need on this roster right now. And he gives you a goalie for next season. Again, I think we make decent goalies look good on this team because of how we play. And I think Tristan Jarry would have been one of those goalies. He's also young. So it's not like we're going and getting like a $5.4 million contract, 3 years with a 35-year-old goaltender. So it's a 29-year-old goaltender. So he would have been 32 at the end of his contract. I mean, he's a younger guy and he's getting ready to hit his prime. So I still think we should have claimed him solely because it's a free goalie that we really need. But I understand why we did not. This team is
Yeah,
not
it was
known for
it
that.
it was a little bit expensive. I understood that more than because I know there was another NHL goalie, Sam, that was put on waivers where we were like, wow, we should pick him up. I'm forgetting his name. You remember that, Sam? It was earlier this year.
Jack Campbell,
Yeah, Jack Campbell.
I believe it was.
I would have picked him up.
I'm googling it real quick.
The biggest thing it was the cap. Like I understand I'm picking up a $5.3 million goaltender. That's a lot. But a guy like Jack Campbell, so
I'm checking now because I think he was Detroit. Yeah. Okay. So Jack Campbell. The reason why he was sent down is just didn't play well at all. But Jack Campbell's overall numbers in his career aren't horrific. He's played 176 games. He's won 93 of them. He's had 10 shutouts. He has a 2.76 goals against average. It's a little high, but his save percent average is above 9. It's 0.909. Jack Campbell has played on teams that don't have defense. He's played in Edmonton 2 years. He played in Toronto for 3 years. And the dude doesn't play a whole heck of a lot of games. The most he played in 1 year is 49. So that fits our system. And he's cheap. He was like
exactly. Yep.
less than $1 million.
I
He was league
understand.
minimum. So it's like he's an NHL goalie. He
And
doesn't cost you anything.
there have been plenty of projects before. Aiden
Mhm.
Hill being one of them.
Peter
Mackenzie
Mrazek.
Black, Pierre Mrazek being one. Curtis
That,
McElhinney, you could
yeah.
say.
We claimed McElhinney. We signed Mrazek. We have gone for goaltenders that have been like, I would say Toronto rejects, right? Toronto sent out Mrazek, we signed him. Toronto sent out Freddie Anderson, we signed him. So it's not like we have gone for goaltenders that are excellent. They've failed in Toronto, and then they had pretty decent success in Carolina. But I think, Jack Campbell wouldn't have been, a crazy thing. And he was a 1-year deal at league minimum.
I'm not saying he would have worked, but the Hurricanes could have tried, and they didn't, which that aggravates me, is that there was no attempt.
I'm just saying, like, you cannot believe that Dustin Tokarski is better than Jack Campbell. Like, there's just no way in this world that anyone with a brain could believe that. Jack Campbell played a lot more NHL because he's a lot more NHL experience. He has been successful as an NHL starting goaltender on a team that didn't have defense. So you're telling me on a team that has defense, he would not have been successful? Come on. I mean, really?
Yeah, but we'll get to talking about Carolina here because there's a subject that I really want to tackle.
Okay.
But back to the league-wide news stuff. Obviously, Jari put on waivers, but he clears. And also, Sam, Philadelphia. News coming there because they're going to be getting a new arena in 2031. Sam, I'm not the biggest fan of Philadelphia, but I also don't hate them compared to probably maybe the Rangers or Boston.
I mean, I think Philly, for us, they haven't been good. Like, once we got good, they got bad. So it was one of those things where we kind of passed each other on the runway. It was like, bye. and they know they became bad, we became good. So they really were
Yeah.
never a threat to us after we became a good hockey club.
I love
So
their coach though, and Michkov. I do like Michkov.
yeah, I actually like a lot of that roster and Philly. I love their GM too. I love Danny Briere was one of my favorite Flyers. Briere and Chemo Timonen were like two of my favorite Philadelphia Flyers. Um, but I mean, good for them getting a new arena. I think it's an old arena that they already have, so that's excellent. Good news.
Yep.
I actually had not heard that, so that's news to me.
Yep, they will. So congratulations to Philadelphia. And another thing too, Sam, this is also involving another Metro team in Columbus. But stadium jerseys were revealed for the Navy Federal Credit Union game between Columbus and Detroit.
Yep.
Sam, I think this could be an awesome game.
Yes.
Maybe start a rivalry between the two. I think the two teams probably need it.
Well,
More so Columbus than Detroit, because Detroit is an original 16.
it's
But
Detroit in the Western Conference, right? Or they are in the Atlantic?
oh,
They're in the
they're
Atlantic. They're in the Atlantic. I agree. One, I think it could. Well, one, I think Columbus and Detroit should be in the same division. It's a shame that they're not. They really need to do a league realignment with the standings. Like they really do. That's my view on this. Maybe other people don't agree, but my view is we need a realignment because there are just so many geographical rivalries that we're missing out on. And this is one of them, right? Because they're only going to play each other a few times a season. But if they're in the same division, they're going to play more. And you're right. It should create a rivalry because there already is a rivalry between the Ohio State Buckeyes and the Michigan Wolverines. I'm a Wolverines fan.
exactly.
I know that there's a rivalry there. And
And you're
this,
from Ohio too, so
I'm not from Ohio. My parents are from
well,
Ohio.
you have relatives from Ohio.
Yes. But I love that we're doing this because it's going to be played in the Buckeye Stadium. And that is just I mean, it's awesome. And I love that we're seeing Columbus and Detroit play this game. And guess what? It matters because Detroit is 4 points out of a playoff spot and Columbus is hanging on for dear life on that second wild card spot, which, by the way, congratulations to Columbus because they're having a heck of a season.
Yeah, and trust me, I will mention them later in this episode. But those jerseys are Columbus's jersey, freaking amazing. Oh my gosh, Sam, I just love the cannon look on that jersey, don't you, Sam?
Oh yeah, no, I love the old Canon look. I guess it's a look back because I think they've done that before, but it's a great jersey. I've loved Columbus's jerseys in general through their entire history.
Oh, yeah, I would say they've been good. It's just to me, that is my favorite one that I've
Yeah.
seen of Columbus.
And
Looks so
congratulations
clean.
to Don Waddell for getting this pretty early on in his tenure as general manager in the Columbus franchise. Sam, I have never really hated Columbus. They're probably my third favorite team behind the Wild. So I highly respect Columbus. I love Don Waddell. I love that franchise. I feel sorry for that franchise having to go through
Yeah,
what they've
they've
had to
gone
go
through a
through
lot.
over the last what feels like 3 to 5 years. It's just a horrendous situation and
Well, this past year was really hard for them. That was the hardest part.
yeah, it was. Losing Johnny Gaudreau and Matthew Gaudreau in a horrific accident was awful. And I think a lot of that's probably why they're playing as well, as they're playing, for him and they're playing for that family. And when you have such a strong motivation, uh, a roster that probably shouldn't be as good as they are going to play even harder and even better than probably dig in even more than what they normally would. So, you know what? Congratulations to Columbus for even being in the conversation. Sam, you and I at the beginning of the season had them dead last in the Metropolitan. I'm pretty confident that's where we had them, and they're not there.
Yeah, they're not. And we'll revisit our standings, Sam. I plan to have an episode where we
No,
revisit.
we don't we don't need to do
I think
that.
it'd be cool. I
No,
think it'd
no.
be cool. I
I
think
already
it'd be
know I'm
cool,
like
Sam.
so off on a lot of these guys.
I
It's not
know
even
I
funny.
am. Hey, I am too. But it'd be fun to look back.
Pretty
on
sure
it.
I had Buffalo in the playoffs, and that doesn't look like that's going to happen.
No, it doesn't. But regardless, congratulations to Columbus and those Detroit jerseys, Sam. I think they're really nice, cool, a bit more of a retro type of look, really old school look. But I love it. I really love both jerseys. Now let's get to some hurricane stuff, Sam. Wow, it's been 20 minutes
Yeah.
on NHL stuff. So probably should start with some Hurricanes news. And Sam, what was fun is Monday was the alumni game that took place between the Hurricanes alumni team and the NC State Wolfpack team. Obviously, State won 7-6 against the alumni game. Uh, and I mean, well, you had Brenda Moore and maybe Eric Stahl that were really good. I mean, that NC State team, I mean, athletically, they're better. They probably are.
Oh, they're younger and faster,
Yeah.
but that's cool. I heard it from people I know who were there. They felt like it was scripted, so that's very possible that that's how that was. But uh, it was a great presentation, great uh, public activity for people to go to. So that was cool and great event for them to put on. You get to see a lot of old players, and you love to see it.
Yeah. And I didn't hear this thing about being scripted. Was it really?
No,
Or
well, I don't know if it really was scripted. I'm saying I had a friend who was there and who watched it and said he felt like what he watched was scripted.
Mm.
So it was like a feeling. He said like Eric Stahl like tripped a guy on a breakaway and he said it was on purpose. So he felt like it was like he felt like it was scripted 'cause it was like
uh-huh.
he was just saying that that's what he felt like. So you know what? Maybe it
Uh-huh.
was, maybe it wasn't. I don't know. There's no evidence to refute that. There's no evidence also to say the opposite. So it's like, well, whatever. You know, if you want to believe it's scripted for them to always win, then I really don't care.
I see. Here's the thing. I think if it was scripted, the Hurricanes would win, not State, but whatever. Shows how much I know about alumni games. But one thing that was a highlight, Sam, was Rod Brendamore showing that he can still probably a little bit play with that great goal that he made. Oh man, so
Yeah,
sick.
well, Rod's clearly very in shape. So
He is. It was just amazing. But another thing too, Sam, is Jordan's. Well, the 3 stars of the week was announced for past the last week, and guess what? Jordan Stahl is named second star of the week. Hellebuck got the first, and Patrick Kane got the third. But congrats to Jordan Stahl, man,
yeah,
and a bit of a
Jordan.
throwback on the 3 stars too, because Patrick Kane is a bit of an old timer as well.
Yeah, you had a couple of guys who are that. Jordan Stahl deserved it though. He had an
He did.
excellent week. So congratulations to the captain.
Yes, definitely. Very happy. He had 5 goals, 2 assists, 7 points. That's just amazing. Good
Yeah.
congrats to him. And now we have some injury updates, Sam.
Yep.
Now, not every player I thought that I saw today got an update, but we do have an update for a couple of them. William Carrier is receiving a second opinion today of his injury. Hopefully, Sam, that he can play soon because I like Carrier.
I feel like the fact that we're getting a second opinion is not a good sign,
Really?
which is unfortunate. Yeah, well, you only get a second opinion if you get an answer you don't want the first time. So most likely, whatever he was given as a prognosis or as a diagnosis as to what you got to do, not good. So we'll see. Hopefully, he's back sooner rather than later. But I wouldn't hold my breath. My concern is we're not going to see him again this year.
I hope that's not true, but regardless, seems like Hurricanes are wanting this to be a transition year from what I'm hearing. So,
Yep. Yeah. Well, yeah.
So yeah, there's a little bit of my take right there, and also Tyson Jost was sitting at practice today, but he is still seems to be a bit of ways out before returning to game form. Sam, so I
At least
didn't
he's
hear any
practicing.
Yeah, go ahead.
I said at least he's practicing, so that's better. That's better situation than Carrier is in.
Yes, it is, and no updates on Anderson. Haven't
Well, he's
seen any.
practicing, right?
He was on the ice for I think one practice.
Okay. I don't
And
know if they practiced
but
today.
I listen, I could be wrong about that, but from what I've heard, it seems like we could it could be another month before seeing Anderson on the ice. So
I'm just kind of looking right now to see if anything came out about Freddie.
yeah, I didn't see anything, but I could be wrong. Um, but Sam's looking that up. Those are kind of the injury updates, and
Freddie Anderson
I
was at
believe
practice.
he was.
Yeah.
Oh,
Go
okay,
check.
good.
Go check off Tokarski and Anderson. All there.
Okay, good. And this was a practice that Brendan Moore kind of slated at the very last minute because of the game against Buffalo.
Yep.
So
Yep.
hopefully the Hurricanes learned some valuable stuff during that practice. But we'll see. Obviously, the test is
Big
going
game
to be
tonight.
against Vegas. Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Big game tonight. Big test tonight. Big game tonight. It's huge.
Yep. Watch them win, Sam. That's how this has been for so long.
Yeah. It's what it's kind of what it feels like. Watch them win. Really? They're gonna win? Probably.
Yeah, because you never know with this team right now. And
Mm-mm.
another thing too that caught my eye, Sam, I saw this rumor that the Hurricanes may be looking to add a forward at the deadline. Um, I didn't see any like article with the Hurricanes looking to add a forward, but uh, this is when I'm going to kind of spill my beans on the Hurricanes here.
Well, do
I've
you
been
want to get
holding
to the
in for
game?
so long.
Well, you want to get to the game? We'll add this to the game and we'll get through an ad break first.
You know
Because
what?
we're
Let's
already at
do that.
26 minutes.
Let's do that. So yeah, we'll let's get to an ad and then we'll cover that and then we'll do the game.
Yep.
Playoffs? We're talking about playoffs? You bet we are. Get in on the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Scoring touchdowns is key to winning in the playoffs, and you can score big by betting on them at DraftKings, the number one place to bet touchdowns. Ready to place your first bet? Try betting on something simple like a player to score 6. Go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app and make your pick. New DraftKings customers can bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code THPN. That's code THPN for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio. Okay, Sam. I'm ready to unleash it.
You unleash it,
You
Sam.
heard. I don't want to unleash it.
No, you do. Go for it. Go. Do it.
Oh, I do. Okay. So Hurricanes said that they're apparently the report is, and I could be wrong, looking to add a forward at the deadline. Few prospects that was listed that could be expendable are Perron, Robidas, Suzuki, and I think a couple more prospects that I saw. But I mean, when I saw this, I was like, I don't think. Well, the real problem isn't the forwards. The real problem is goaltending. And I think the Hurricanes are kind of avoiding the goaltender front just because of the prices. And I don't really have nice words to say about that. I don't. Because, I mean, if you have all these prospects, I mean, maybe I would think you could try to get a goalie.
Yeah.
I mean, they
You have,
had a chance with Jack Campbell.
you have prospects who you're never going to play in the NHL. Because you've proven that. Suzuki being prime number one example. having a freakishly awesome season, and you have refused to make the call up. So, yeah, why isn't Suzuki being packaged to get Gibson or get something else? Like, why are we holding on to a player that we're not gonna call up?
Exactly. I mean, I just and honestly, I do think this team does need a forward. I do. With their star player, that because that's another problem the Kings are having is the fact that their star players aren't really producing that much. And I do understand getting a top forward. Hopefully, it's a top 6 forward. I don't want like a top 9 forward because that's
We're not
Jack
gonna get it.
Kloskovic.
We're not gonna get a top
But
9 or top 6.
but the and that leads me to another thing. I don't think the Hurricanes are even going to add anything this year. I really don't.
The only time I see them making, if they make a trade, it's for something, and
That's
I'll
going to
just
help
use
you in the future.
yeah, and I'll just use this as an example because there was an article I think on Sportsnet about it, talking about Mikko Rantanen, and that's a player that you and I have batted around many times about hopefully joining Carolina. But he's a player who is an UFA coming up, who is on expiring deal, is not close in Colorado to getting an extension. It sounds like they are significantly far off. Colorado has cap issues. They very easily might never be able to afford that deal anyway. So, if that's the case, Carolina makes the deal, most likely involving this Jeffrey, Sam and I, you and I have talked about this many times. Most likely, it's going to involve one of either Svetch or Natchez as the primary piece going the other way. Plus, prospects, picks, throw in whatever you want that to be. So, assuming that's out, my guess is most likely it's Natchez because that contract is shorter term. But he's out. So, say Natchez is on the way out the other way, and Mikko Rantanen's coming back this way. Yes, I know it's going to upset some people who love Natchez or people who love Svetch if Svetch is out the other way. This is all hypothetical as an explanation of the kind of move Carolina might make at the deadline. Mikko Rantanen comes this way. One, you've upgraded over either Svetch or Natchez. I'm sorry if you don't agree. You aren't watching hockey. Rantanen is a significantly better player. Rantanen's here. He's in on an expiring deal, and you're like, oh, how does that help you for the future? You only make that trade if a contract is, if the moment he gets off the plane, he puts pen to paper and he signs an extension. That's the kind of trade Carolina makes. A guy like that who you're going to sign immediately, or you've already talked to the player and the contract is ready to go,
Yes,
or
I
a
agree with
player
that.
with term. That's the kind of trade. I'm not saying it is Rantanen. I'm using that as an example because that's the article that came out this week on Sportsnet talking about Mikko Rantanen potentially being available at the deadline. And I do believe the article mentioned Carolina as a team that would be potentially in on that player.
And they also said Elias Pettersson about a
Yeah,
player
well, Elias
that could
Pettersson.
be in.
Pettersson makes 100% sense for a trade because that guy has term. That is a player for the future, right?
Yep,
Players
it
with
is.
term or players you will sign are the trades Carolina will make this trade deadline. They will not trade for a rental. They do not believe this is a year that they will win the cup. They won't win the cup. I'm almost confident to say the Carolina Hurricanes will not win the Stanley Cup. If you just look in the Eastern Conference, who's in the playoffs, I don't see how we get past Florida or even Tampa for that matter.
I would say probably New Jersey, but
I don't know if maybe if we beat New Jersey, it's just because we have a better defensive core than they do.
yeah, it is. But I mean, it's just another thing too. And I tweeted about this last night. Hurricanes have been playing 500 hockey for the past couple months, and I honestly do think if you keep playing like this towards season's end, it is going to eventually show up on the standings. And there's a team right behind Carolina that is blazing hot. And I said this, I was going to announce this team again on this episode. Columbus. They have won 8 of their last 10 games. I believe they're playing right now as we're recording this, and they're playing against San Jose. And San Jose is not a good team. And if they win against San Jose, we lose against Vegas, and they win against their game Saturday against the Rangers, boy, does that make things interesting. And honestly, I I really do believe you keep playing 500 hockey, it is going to reflect in the standings, and you're not going to make the playoffs if you're playing 500 hockey for what 3/4 of the season. You have to go on some win streak, but this Canes team has not been able to since the start of the season,
I was about
and
to say, when's the last time we won more than 2 games in a row?
probably start of the season. And
Yeah,
I mean,
ridiculous.
it's just not good. And another thing too, by trade deadline, if you are outside of a playoff spot, you do not. I mean, okay, like the trades Sam proposed. Like, okay, I make a trade like that, but you don't do any rentals. You don't try to add anything. I would argue you probably sell because if they think this is a transition year, they need to act like it.
Yeah,
Get assets for this upcoming draft and
yeah,
build off of that. That means you'll get even more assets in terms of prospects. So that means that if you're trying to get all these prospects, at the same time, you're probably more willing to give some away to try and help this team.
yeah,
And not only that, but you're also probably giving a good pathway to the other prospects that could make it into the NHL, like Bradley Nadeau, like Felix Andresorum. So while I
yeah.
don't think this team should sell right now, if they're in a playoff spot, I think they should if they're below the playoffs.
Well, actually, I say they should do it anyway. So I'm a little different in this regard. I think if you could get a high pick or prospect or player in exchange that you really covet in exchange for a Roslovic or Orlov, and if you can convince Burns to waive that no trade clause, those are the 3 players that I'm very comfortable moving in this moment. Burns, again, that's the hard thing. He's got a 3-team green light clause. Basically, he has 3 teams listed that he's okay to be traded to. Um, again, he has to waive that in order to get moved. He probably won't, so that's moot talking about that. But he is in my list of players I'm willing to ship on out of here. But Orlov and Roslovic are in a position where we can move them, and I feel like they're
I would argue possibly 3 if Anderson comes back healthy.
yeah. I mean, heck, move Anderson. You know, if you want to move Anderson to Anaheim for Gibson, that way cap in, cap out. That works fine with me. They'll still need to do something with cap, but at that point, you can always LTIR Fost, and I think there's some other ways to make it work as well. But if you want to move Freddie for goalie or move him out because you know you're not going to sign him again and use him as a piece to bring in a goalie just so they know that way that other team has a goaltender. Maybe they resign Freddie. I mean, I don't know. But yeah, I agree. I think in my mind, there's 4 players that this team should be okay with moving. Burns, because he's not been good this year. I don't care what anyone says. Burns has not been great this season. Orlov, he's been decent this year, but he's definitely had some like eye gouging moments where it's just horrific to watch him play. Jack Roslovic, who is probably the most valuable player that we would be possibly moving, and then Freddie Anderson. If I'm moving any one of those, I would see what Roslovic would fetch right now because
Yeah,
he's scored
same here.
20 goals. He's on pace for probably close to 30 goal scorers, going to fetch you a lot at the deadline. So if you believe this team's not going to be a contender, I don't know why you keep Roslovic when you have a player like Bradley Nadeau who could probably come up and play and produce just as much and give him some time to play the last bit of the season. I mean, if you want to call comparable, I would say Nadeau would be that guy to play in place of Roslovic, which I think is good for his development, by the way. But yeah, send Roslovic out. You probably can get a first-round draft pick out of him. I think at
Maybe.
least a first-round draft pick.
But even if Nadeau isn't ready, like you have guys like Yaska and I mean, yeah, Yaska,
Yeah.
definitely, and Tyson Jost. That was the other player. Just covering just for depth reasons, just for you to be there. If they're not ready, you have those players. So it's just one of those things where I think they should sell if they're below the playoffs because well, I mean honestly, even though I don't think they're going to win the Stanley Cup ultimately, when you make the playoffs, anything can happen. That's just reality when it comes to the NHL. So, but it's just frustrating. And Sam, let's now go into the Buffalo game. So, first period, yeah, on the first shots that Buffalo makes, it is McLeod that scores, and Tokarski's in net. And
Yep.
that, to me, that's the goal that is the worst goal that
Yeah.
Tokarski allowed. It
Well,
was
because
very bad.
it set the tone,
It really did.
and Carolina just never. Reality is they never recovered from that. The effort
Yeah.
just was never there at all. Period. End of sentence. Never there.
Which is why that's the root of the problem. Yeah, I
Yep.
think you need a forward, but you need a goalie.
Yeah.
Desperately need one. And that wasn't the only soft goal Tokarski allowed. But it's 1-0 heading to the second. And Sam, you have Dylan Cousins scoring because you had Slavin and Burns playing hot potato with the puck. And it's ultimately Slavin that gets it out and turns it over. I love Slavin. I'm still his probably one of his biggest fans. I'm probably the in terms of like his own fan club, I could be the president of his fan club.
It's
But
true.
here's the thing, he did not play well that game. And honestly, I think this season, he could be better overall.
Yeah, I think this is Slavin's worst year, and even then, Slavin's still Slavin, and he's still a best defensive defenseman in the National Hockey League. But I honestly believe he's where he's at because I think Burns is dragging him down, and I think it's really unfortunate that Rod refuses to acknowledge that. I
Well,
think
there have been multiple games where he's been bad, not just the Columbus game.
you mean the Buffalo game.
Oh, sorry, Buffalo. I didn't
Look,
think it was good against Columbus on New Year's Eve, to be honest,
look,
and the Nashville game for crying out loud. Remember the
no one,
Nashville game?
no one was good in the Nashville game. But this is what I'm going to tell you. I would love to see Slavin playing with anybody else. Just because I think Burns is a liability on the blue line. Because one, he's not producing, which is why he's on this team. When he makes a mistake, he makes a mistake. When he makes a mistake, he can't correct it because he's too slow. So Slavin has to figure it out, and then at the end of the day, they both look bad. I believe Slavin's the best defensive defenseman in the National Hockey League. He's not a guy who's going to stop playing well because he's got a big contract now. You need to have someone else who can play on that line who can skate because Burns cannot.
No,
I'm
he
sorry.
can't. And I would say that's a. I mean, well, I don't think Burns has been good. I think the obvious thing with him this season is that he is not a good skater. He just isn't. And one thing I will give props to Burns on, he has been producing points as of late. So that's good. I mean, you're kind of an offensive defenseman for a reason. But at the same time, I mean, you can tell when he's on the ice, he's not a fast player. And I
No,
would
he's not.
argue, eh, eh, I mean, on the defense, and I do think this is going to be fixed for next season. You have Nikishkin and Morrow. Well, I don't think Morrow's probably a super fast skater. I think he's probably better in terms of comparing him to maybe
Well,
Burns and
he's
Orlov,
younger. He's
but
younger
he's
than
younger.
Orlov,
And
so
I
he's getting
think the
faster.
blue line needs an injection of young blue liners because this team, I would say, I mean, Slavin, Chatfield, and Ghost are probably the three defensemen that I'd be like, okay, yeah, they're good skaters.
Yeah, they're good
Walker,
skaters.
I think
The youngest.
Walker's good, but he's
Yeah.
not flashy in his skating ability.
No, he's not. I mean, Ghost knows how to work his feet. Walker's younger, so dude's got some speed to him. But yeah,
But
it's just
Orlov and Burns, like, my God, they are so slow.
yep, yep.
So it's just, I mean, that's just one thing that's just been a trend on this blue line. And then you had the third goal for Buffalo, Sam. It's McLeod again scoring. And what's Tokarski doing? He just lets that puck right in between him and the post.
Yeah, that
It
was
was
rough.
right off of a face-off too.
Yep.
So I don't know what he was doing.
Yeah, that was a tough one. Tokarski did not have a good night, and the only reason I'm not going to harp too much on him is because he played like 4 games before that were good. He won 3, lost 1. He had a shutout in one of them. I don't blame him for the other loss because the team in front of him was trash, and Tokarski could have done nothing on any of those goals. So it's just, you know, Tokarski is a great story that lasted for 4 games. And eventually, it's just a reality. This team needs a goalie. And the hope and prayer is that Freddie Anderson comes back. Because at this point, this team's not going to do anything for the goaltending situation. So, yeah, you need Freddie.
Yeah, you do. Even though I think, well, the whole goaltending situation is just frustrating for me with the Hurricanes. But third period, Sam, Hurricanes show up, but it's too late, especially when you have Buffalo scoring 3 goals.
Yep.
And you know they have a chip on their shoulder when they are the team that has blown the most leads in the NHL. So when I saw that, I was like, I don't think they're going to let Carolina beat them this game, with them being up. But you had Slavin scoring from Brinson KK. That was a shot where I was like, I don't know how that got in, but okay. Because even though I thought Luukkonen was good, Sam, that's
Yeah.
probably a shot he wants to save.
Yeah, I thought Luukkonen had a really good game, to be 100% honest with you. I thought we were going to
We
get
make
goalies.
any goalie a great freaking goalie lately.
Yeah,
Though,
I think that's
so,
fair.
yeah. And then you have Natchez scoring. To me, that's the only positive I can take from this game, Sam. It's Natchez
Yeah, because
scoring.
get him going. Like, you want to get him going, especially before we play in Vegas tonight. So, yeah. Or tonight as you're listening to this anyway. Because if you're going to beat Vegas, you need your guy, you need your top 6 to play. That's Vegas. That's Aho. That's Jarvis. That's Svech. That's Roslovic. That's KK. That's Robinson. You need all of those guys, all cylinders going.
Yep, exactly. But after that goal, Sam, I mean, I was a little bit surprised in the fact that after that second goal, Carolina I thought, just decided to give up.
Yep.
I was like, what just happened after that second goal? Like they weren't even trying to get into the offensive zone. Now, credit to Buffalo. I'll give them credit. They wanted to win that game, and they got the win. And then you have McLeod scoring a hat trick. And funny enough, Sam, no, even with that hat trick, because how that happened is it was an empty net goal, and the fact that he- I believe, yeah, he was rushing to try and get the third goal, but Burns decided to desperately come back and just chopped his stick off.
Yeah. That was
And
funny.
refs allowed it a goal, which I agree. You got to award a goal when there's
Yep.
a penalty on the player on an empty net chance. But even then, Sam, Buffalo had no shots in that third period,
Yep.
and they still scored.
Well, whatever. I don't even care.
But it's just frustrating.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah. Um, but that's it for the very frustrating Buffalo game. I mean, again, watch us how we win against Vegas. But if we don't win against Vegas, things could get a little bit dicey for the Hurricanes standing wise, Sam.
They could. And look, they have no one to blame but themselves. We'll see. I do believe this roster is still a playoff roster. I do. I don't know.
I do too.
I can't explain why we're playing 500 hockey.
For
I've
this
really
long.
reserved. Yeah, I've really reserved a lot of what I believe um, for a while, and I'm going to continue to do so in this situation. I really wanted this game. This stretch of games we got coming up, I think, against Vegas, and we have a back-to-back on the road. I think it's going to be telling because we've lost to the Ducks, we've lost to Buffalo, bottom feeder teams. We play Vegas. Let's see if we can at least play up to Vegas, and then I think we play Chicago on the road. I think, right, Sam? I think that back to
Yeah,
back,
Chicago on the road is Chicago and then Dallas.
Chicago and Dallas. So you know what, we're playing two good teams and a bad team. Carolina, unfortunately, you put yourself in a position where you got to win 2 of these 3.
And you also face Columbus too.
And I would say you got to win 3 of these 4 then, right? Or 3. See, we play 3 games. Yeah, so you need to win 3 of the 4. And I would almost say you might need to get points in all 4. So this is not you're in a position now where you still have built up a lead and the division between you and right now Columbus. That's if you're in a fortunate situation because of that.
But it's slowly dwindling.
It is,
It
and
really
you
is.
cannot keep on playing like, oh, they'll never catch up because guess what? They could. Rangers could go on a heater. They've got a hell of a roster. They do. If they figure it out, with Shesterkin, they could rattle off 7, 8, 9 games in a row. Wouldn't shock me one little bit.
Exactly.
Columbus has a lot to play for. They could do it. Wouldn't shock me at all. John Tortorella coaches the Flyers. Wouldn't shock me if they found a way to rattle off some wins to challenge for that third. So Carolina is in a position where they are starting to run out of runway because they have been playing 500 hockey while the teams below them are not. They're playing above 500 hockey. So you got to be able to match the teams below you and win those games when you play bottom feeders, or else you're going to end up in a position like New York where you're looking outside. You're on the outside looking in.
Yeah. Well, it's really Columbus for me, but we'll see how that goes, Sam.